Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Hello!
Hello.
It's day...
Day 4.
Day 4. So we didn't forget to do snippets, but we forgot to do snippets.
Every time we remembered, it was like, okay, we're in bed now. We're not going to do
Or
snippet.
we're tired, or we need to do snippets today, and then we'd forget, and then we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so here we are, day 4.
Of
and
the cruise part.
Oh yeah, so many days this vacation has been. Can you believe that at one point we thought about going to Alani before we went to Disneyland and then before we came here? I'm very happy we didn't make that decision.
We would be dead.
Yeah. So hopefully you can hear us. We are at the French Quarter Lounge, which it's our first time here. And it's lovely. We hadn't really been back here even to go because this is our first time in Tiana's place. We had dinner there tonight. And this lounge is adorable. So we decided a little ambiance like Steve and Wake would always do to record the snippet. I'm having a drink. I'm having some little bit car or something. Something doesn't seem right about that. Oh, Lillet cocktail, which is like vodka and Aperol spritz or something along those lines. So we're going to have that. We're going to see what it's like.
And I have the Alaskan mountains in the background I'm looking at.
Yep. Oh my God. Alaska's so beautiful.
So beautiful.
Are you happy we're here?
Thrilled. This is just, it's like take 2. Like we sort of know what to expect a little bit now, so it's just re-enjoying everything.
Yeah, so we were here the first time 5 years ago when Blake was 5, and he just turned 10 on this cruise. Big difference.
Big difference. And that's fun too, because he's able to do more and he appreciates more, so it's very fun.
So day 1 boarding in Vancouver was fine. I will say we stayed at the Fairmont at the airport, and man, that was easy.
Mm-hmm.
Very expensive dinner, but like delicious.
Very delicious.
We had a late flight in from
Orange County. Spa.
Yeah. SNA Airport, so basically the John Wayne Airport. And then we stayed at the Fairmont at the airport. It's literally like steps from baggage claim.
Yeah.
So convenient once you figure out where to go. And then, so that was super easy. We took unfortunately, the hotel had said that there would be an extended, like a cab van, and there wasn't.
Yeah.
So we had to take 2 cabs because there were 4 of us with a lot of luggage.
The kind of bellhop type guy out front said, yeah, he keeps telling the front desk that on cruise ship days especially, all of the vans are down at the port to collect the people getting off the ship. So there really aren't any vans available for the airport.
Right.
So, but we ended up doing 2 cabs, which was unfortunate, but it worked fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
And it was only like a, 20, 25 minute, not even trip to the port. So, and boarding was pretty good.
Okay. So we're back. My drink came, and whatever my Lily bit, which is not that name at all, was not good. It was like spicy and bitter. And I don't know what it was, but I never want to have that again.
You didn't have a very pleasant look on your face.
No. So it was the Lillet cocktail, and also I don't quite understand what our server is saying, but he's very nice.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to get something else. Okay, so boarding, though, was easy and fine. And then we did have an earlier boarding group, which was nice. And because of the earlier boarding group, we had, like, no wait for customs and for security and all of that. Super easy. Okay. So we get on board. We got on board super early, too, because we are in concierge this cruise. We had a Wish cancellation, and as a result of that Wish cancellation, we got 50% off of this cruise. So it's like the price of a regular cabin was our concierge cabin, and it's lovely.
It's very lovely.
And so we were able to get on early, and then we went right to lunch. And then our rooms were ready after lunch. I swear it was like 12:30 when we were finished eating lunch. We had the most time. It was unreal how much time we had.
And then the fact that the room was ready, it was just, we went and got our stuff, went in with the lounge, checked that out. So, it was a lot of fun.
And the day was really nice. Like, the weather was super nice. Mm-hmm. So, like, just a great day. Then eventually, our luggage came and we got unpacked.
Did the muster drill.
We did the old school muster drill where you just stand in a herd of people and they play dumb games, like, while waiting for everybody to check in. Like, the dumbest games. Like, who's your favorite princess? What about this princess? What did this princess do? And I'm like, no, this is not a better way.
I feel like part of being Pearl should be you can skip the muster drill.
Because
if
you could go back
on that many
you could go back
ships,
to watching the video. You have to watch the video.
Yeah.
You have to do the thing.
But if you've been on that many trips, you know what to do.
So, whatever. Okay, so are we skipping ahead to Glacier Day? So It was like a sea day. It was the first day. The first day, they're back to doing like no entertainment the first day of the cruise.
Right.
Which is not the worst. And what was interesting is the first 3 cruises of the Alaskan season had like the merch people would like swarm and it was crazy and people would just like try to hurry up and get it. And we didn't have any of that. When we got out of dinner, there was nobody taking pictures of characters, and the silver anniversary at sea characters were all the first day. And like, I don't think they've been back at the silver anniversary since that day. And then,
well, they've been in their Alaskan garb now. Their freezing garb.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, they're cold right now. Yeah, so the store wasn't crowded, and the characters there was no line. And it was so funny. The next day, the lines were packed for everything, for every character. And even going shopping, like we went to something in the theater. Why did we go to the theater? The Alaska demonstration.
Yes.
The talk.
The talk with the
talk
eagles,
about birds.
the eagles and the birds and the hawks.
So the one thing, let me say this too about the discussions in the theater for the like naturalist people. It'll be called something like forest animals or something really vague, and then they'll talk about bears and this and that. Like they'll talk about things more than. It wasn't called forest animals.
It was trees.
Called trees.
It was like
That's
trees.
what it was.
It was about
because
trees.
It's things that go in the trees or live in the trees.
And then they're like, "Oh yeah, we talked about bears," and we're like, "Well, we would have wanted to see that."
Yeah. So I would say go to all of those talks, even if they're not what you would think they would be. Because even our bird one was about a whole bunch of other. So if you're interested in those, definitely go. You don't have to arrive early. In fact, ours started 10 minutes late.
It was done
early.
I don't think it was even half full. I mean, it was.
Oh, it wasn't even a tenth full.
Yeah.
It was we had like, we sat to the side like I do, and wait.
Oh, engine started. We're not moving quite yet.
We are moving. That pole is leaving us.
We're
But
starting to move.
it's 7:52. I thought we were leaving at 8:30.
Maybe everyone's on board, so they're like, "All right, let's do it."
Okay, so that's a fun fact.
Because it was all
It
aboard
was all
at 8
aboard.
p.m.
8. Oh, was it 8, not 8:30?
No, it was 8 p.m. Yeah.
And it's 7:52.
And
we're
moving.
We're not here anymore.
we've angled differently to that building in the flagpole.
Yeah, the light post went away. Okay. And what made us think of that is our booties were vibrating.
So the theater,
there was nobody in it. Like we had like 4 rows on each side of us before a person was anywhere near us.
And it was good. It was good. It was all about eagles
really
and hawks and all the different raptors. That was what it was about. It was all the different raptor style birds, of Alaska. So that was, and our boy would have loved that.
He would have. Then there was one. So there were trees, there were birds, and then there was one after our talk but we didn't go to it.
I want to say it was a sea mammal or sea animals or something like
Which
that.
would have been awesome as well.
Awesome as well.
But also, he wasn't the most
dynamic.
Yeah.
he was a research scientist, so, you know.
In every aspect of that phrase.
Yes.
But he was fine, and it was informational.
Yeah.
And maybe I wanted to go take a nap, which I didn't take a nap until today. Yeah. And I need to take a nap every day up until this day.
Yes, for sure.
This time change kills me.
It does.
I mean, we've been doing very well.
In Disneyland, we were go for days.
It's all Nova's fault. And
it was
Chris
a ton of fun. But
from the podcast
and we're not used to it because, living in Disney World, we go to the park for a couple hours. We're like, okay, we're done. We don't feel the need to do everything. And here, we felt the need to do everything because we aren't in Disneyland all the time.
Right.
So, but it was
and
very
we
fun.
wanted to.
And we wanted to.
And it was fun.
And Blake was up for it, too.
Yeah.
So, now, having a little bit of downtime, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now we're tired.
Yeah, so the characters on that sea day, which was the second day of the sailing, were jammed. Mm-hmm. It was very crowded.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that night was with the Golden Mickeys. I had never seen Golden Mickeys. I can't even believe it. Although not that many ships I've been on have had Golden Mickeys. So what we decided is, they will play the movies in your stateroom. And I love to be comfy. I want to be in my cozies. I want to hang out.
Get some concierge popcorn.
Yes.
And the best seat in the house is from your couch.
Exactly. So we did watch Golden Mickeys from our couch. That was super enjoyable. We had never seen it before. You didn't like it though, right?
I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was weird because it was like...
Well, they're always very truncated.
Yeah, but I feel like they tend to try better at other shows because this was just a montage of Disney things that they're trying to loosely tie together with some weird story. And I feel like a lot of like the Dreams one and all that, there's a better solid storyline. This was just weird. And then they had like Tim Allen show up as they had like the Oscars is what they were trying to go for.
Well, obviously. Everybody knows that but us.
Well, yeah. But then so they had the actual actors showing up to like introduce another segment, but then it sort of all just kind of didn't make sense. It was really just here's just a bunch of things. And then I think the one that got me was when they were doing the best villain, and they did a segment with Ursula, and it struck me as extremely lazy because what they did is they literally took clips from the Little Mermaid movie and just dubbed over it with a sound-alike actor or actress. And it was just like, you couldn't even like record something new. So the mouth movement didn't match up. The whole thing was just kind of like, I'm very glad I'm not in the theater right now.
Maybe he would have had a better experience in the theater. But either way, whatever. We've seen it.
It was enjoyable to do it the way we did it.
Frozen.
I also went on very long.
Yeah, Frozen is tomorrow.
Yep.
We are also going to watch that from our cabin because I do love me a cozy movie, a cozy video. I love watching. I don't need to be in a theater. Also, there are some people with some coughs on this cruise. Mm-hmm. On the last two cruises, people have come back with some COVID and some diseases, and you all know me. I'm just happy to be in less of a super crowded space.
Yep.
That's all I gotta say about that.
And then for best perk is you get to roll right into bed after you want to.
Literally.
After you're done.
You're in your PJs already. You just walk to your bedroom and go to sleep.
Yep.
Or your room. Whatever. Your bed. That's the word I was going for. Okay. In our case, we have a bedroom. Wow. Listen. 50% off. Okay. So then the next day was Glacier Day.
Yeah.
And I had a plan for getting all the characters, or at least getting Mickey and Minnie. And my understanding was they were going to be in the afternoon. Did we always, did I miss the fact that they were characters in the morning?
I think we just missed it.
Do you think they added that? I don't know. But there were characters in the morning.
But I think we were in bed. Was it the night before or was it that morning?
It was that morning.
And we're looking through the schedule, and Chris is like, oh, they're at 9 o'clock. Oh, we need to get up and go.
Because I knew I really wanted to see the characters in their Alaska wear. And I knew that if I went early in the morning, there'd be less people. Then I sort of cut in line. It was not my intention. I had no idea. I was actually asking for the end of the line. And somehow I thought it was where I was, and nobody corrected me. Nobody made faces. Like, I didn't know. And then they were like, I was just talking to all these people. It was the most fun. The atmosphere was just, it's like when you show up early to go to the 50th or Epcot's 35th or Epcot's 40th, you know, it's just like that Disney excitement and energy. It was happening. So then it was time to like move forward for the line. And I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be at the end. And they were all just like,
no, this is the beginning.
This is the beginning, but you've been here the whole time now, and we didn't really want to tell you to move. And I still don't even know what fully happened, but I made friends with all the people. And
then you were going to ask about things, like asking about like where Mickey was going to come out and all this stuff. And they were like, oh yeah, she's earned her place in line.
Yeah,
because they were all like, we would never go ask anybody anything, so she is earning her place.
So yeah, because we knew the Mickey one, but it was for Minnie.
Yeah.
Like, was Minnie going to be in the
do we go to the other
opposite?
side? Yeah.
How do we get there? And will this stairway be open? And it was near the elevators. Was that do you think the midship deck 10
that was the midship.
elevators? So it was deck 10 midship elevators.
Because we came out of the lounge.
Right,
And we were like,
it was right at the lounge.
And,
So it was like right where Vibe, whatever one occurs up on
I think
deck
it's
10.
5, I think.
But it's also the concierge lounge. So like, and I went in and I got hot chocolates for everybody at one point, and like I felt super bad that I cut in front of a whole bunch of people. I mean, it was not I thought it was the end of the line.
And then by the time she realized it, the line itself was like,
and they were like, that
long.
line is too long. You can't go back there now. You have to just stay where you are. And these were all the people in the line that I cut in front of. But then that meant that when it was time to go to Minnie, like there were maybe 8 to 10 families or 6-ish families that skipped Mickey and just went to Minnie.
Yeah.
So then we were behind them, but we were only like 3 families.
Yeah, it was very
three
quick
families
and very
in.
easy.
It was super cool.
Yeah.
We did get the picture package, and man, this ship is crowded. Mm-hmm. The dining rooms are crowded. The pictures are crowded. Like, I wanted a family picture a couple nights ago. It's getting loud now in like getting ready for dinner.
People are lining up for dinner, and they're also watching a lot of people are at the portals, and they're all watching the sail away.
So
Well, and I also think it's funny because I was realizing this again today, that atrium, you're so used to like the dream, the fantasy,
tiny.
the wish. It's so tiny on the Magic and the Wonder.
Yeah.
It's just like, ooh.
I wanted family pictures, and it was so crowded. Everything was so jammed, and I was just like, and my kid doesn't want to stay in line. None of us want to stay in line, really.
No.
So, like, there was no line, basically, for Ariel, for the statue. So I'm like, family picture in front of the statue. But we do need to prioritize family pictures the next couple of days.
Yeah.
But even to have just gotten all the pictures with the characters, and then hopefully the next few days we'll do some more outside time. My goal is to see if I can make it till 10 o'clock tonight so that we can do so I can go and see Minnie Mouse again in her outfit. So I think we're going to pause because it's really loud, and I'm not sure what is happening with the sound. So we're going to pause, and we will come back because we have some excursions to discuss. Okay, it is now day 5. We are, and this is Juno Day. We are in our cabin and taking a little break. We had whale watching today, but we're going to go back in time and talk about the first of the excursions, which was the Glacier Explorer. And we have like a little background music going, so we turned on the ship's TV to like be the music that you hear around the ship today. So our first excursion was Glacier Explorer, and it was super cool.
It was very cool.
So it's $300 an adult. I want to say that children would have been $200, Blake did decide 3 days before the cruise, when we were reviewing our plans, that he didn't want to go. And I think that he would have liked some of it.
He would have gotten bored, though, I think.
But he would have gotten bored. And, because it was long.
Yeah.
It was over 3 hours long. And actually, our listener, Christy, had talked to me about this excursion prior to us sailing, and she said that her kids did get a little bit bored at parts, and it's just kind of long, and even we probably were slightly bored, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
So, basically, you get on a little boat from your ship,
Yep.
and they take you... Here's the thing I didn't know and that I was disappointed on. Your ship is in the middle, so we had the second viewing of it. Or the second Glacier Explorer. So there's one earlier on, and then there's a second one that's either at 2 or 3. We had the second one. Our ship was in the middle of this beautiful glacier area where there was icebergs?
Yeah, little icebergs and clumps of ice that had fallen off of glaciers, and somebody apparently saw sea lions or seals, baby seals and everything just below the ship, because it sort of, we got let off onto this boat that then took us on our tour, and then the ship sort of kept meandering through into different spots.
And it was kind of in a spot, and we had to wait 30 minutes in this theater when the ship was already coming up to the Sawyer Glacier. And if it wasn't that I left the line because the line was backed up to go and look outside at the Sawyer Glacier, either the north or the south or the southeast, however, because there was 2 Sawyer Glacier viewings and the ship was parked at one of them, I wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah.
And then I guess the thing that I was disappointed in is that I didn't take enough pictures of the ship because I thought we would come back to that spot.
Yeah.
And I would get more pictures
moved.
then.
Yeah.
But it moved and it was in timeout by the time we got back. This ship was in the middle of this fjord or whatever, however you would word it. And when we got back, it was up against a wall.
It was staring at a wall.
It was staring at a mountain wall. I was weird, why is the ship in timeout?
Yeah.
So anyway, I missed the opportunity to take those cool pictures you see. And then, our little Glacier Explorer positioned itself, and I was just looking at it. But again, I thought that I would have another opportunity to take those pictures, and I didn't.
Right.
And so just make sure that you take those pictures.
Yeah.
Because it may not double up. You may not get that chance again. So we went on there. It took us to a whole bunch of different places. It took us to...
Right up to a glacier. Sawyer, I think it was South Sawyer Glacier, I think.
And then it, rotates the ship so that you see all the different sides.
And there were 3 tiers. There's a bottom tier that's basically all inside. And then there's a second tier that has an inside area to sit as well as a back deck to stand on. And there's a top third deck that they open up once you get to your spot. And it's all standing. You just go up there and you can take some really nice pictures. But to your point, one thing that Christy pointed out when we got to the top deck, you want to be on the sides when people start going up there, because right in the front, there's these lines and equipment and radar and all these things that block your camera shots. And so if you get, and they rotate the boat so you get good views. So you want to be sort of on the side so you can get some good shots. Yeah,
so when you're up on the top deck, just don't go in the middle, pick a right or left side, and then know that the boat, your Explorer boat will be rotated so you can see the other side. So, but that excursion was super cool. I have 0 regrets. Here's one more thing on the excursions. Blake turned 10 on this cruise, and as we know, Disney pricing changes from 10 and up to being basically adult prices. What I had asked Shoreside ahead of time was, my son turns 10 during the cruise. Will his excursions be priced at 10-year-old excursions or 9-year-old excursions? And they said, well, if he's 10 when the excursion happens, he will be 10-year-old excursion prices. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. It's disappointing because it's money, but it's fine. But so far, he's just been charged as a 9-year-old. So It's still reverted back to the age you start the cruise is the age that you are
charged throughout.
That excursion was great.
Yep. They took us around to a couple waterfalls. We actually saw a couple bald eagles. You got some good shots of it taking off. So it was cool. It was a very nice little tour of the glacier area.
Mm-hmm. And then the next day we went to
Skagway.
So Skagway is where you would take the train, you would go into the Yukon if you were going to do all that. And we did that on our last...
5 years ago.
Yeah, our last Alaskan cruise. So this time we wanted to do the dog sledding and a helicopter. And I would say for dog sledding, there's 2 different ways to do it. There's ones where you can go and like see the puppies and see the summer camp, if you will. And then there's others where you take a helicopter to a glacier and it's snow camps. And those exist in both Juneau and in Skagway.
And so, you were nervous about that helicopter ride.
I was 100% nervous about that helicopter ride. I was nervous ahead of time. I was nervous when it started. I was nervous when they divided us up. I was nervous about the whole thing. So a couple of things I had looked into beforehand. Oh, and the difference was you're either at summer camp or you're on like a cart with wheels, or you're on a sled with like sled bottoms. I don't know.
Yeah, sleigh, the runners in the sleigh and all that, yeah.
In the snow. And we knew our son would want the snow. And I kind of wanted the experience. Like, I wanted to see more glacier. I wanted to be, like, up in the mountains.
To say we walked on a glacier.
Exactly. So we opted to go that route. It was very expensive. Children cost the exact same price. I knew this going in. I actually looked to book it privately, and it was maybe $30 or $20 a person less. So there was really no reason, I guess, not to book it with Disney. But I'm pretty sure whether you booked it privately or not, it was literally the same place.
Right.
Which was 5 feet across from the parking lot of the cruise ship. But it doesn't matter. When I booked this, a couple of things that I had read was that they may separate your family on the helicopter due to weight balancing.
Yeah.
And so I was concerned that would happen.
Especially because you were already nervous about the helicopter. So
I was very nervous.
You need to hold somebody's hand. So somebody was getting their hand held.
Yeah.
It would preferably be a family member, but...
That's actually all very true. So, and then once we were on the glacier, they divided up the family, and I'll go back in time in a second, but they divided up the family into groups of 4. So if you were a family of 5 or more, you would be in 2 different groups. And then if you were a family of 3, you would have one person in your group that was not your family member. So when we were on the dock, actually, we started talking with a woman, and she was doing this excursion on her own, and she befriended us. We had a great rapport. So, and we were all assigned to the same helicopter. And so they take your weight, which is fun. And then they divide you up.
They let you write it down if you're not comfortable with
if you're not going to say
shouting
it
out to the entire group.
And then they did divide us up where there are seats in the back and seats in the front of this helicopter. And Blake and I got to sit next to each other, and we were in the front seat, which was kind of cool. We had the best captain.
Yes, she was awesome. I should say, just real quick,
it's cozy.
It is cozy, and the notice said that for the weight, if you are 250 pounds or more, including all of your gear, clothing, and all that, you have to purchase an extra half a seat.
Right.
Which is like an extra $100 or something like that, I think it was.
I don't know what it was, but
there was
additional charge.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of rules of things you can't bring with you, which I understand. Ultimately, and we just keep getting interrupted, so I'm sorry. But ultimately, Blake and I were in the front. Dave was in the back with the woman that we befriended on the dock. And then 2 other women. And it was cozy in there.
It was very cozy.
So know that you will be cozy.
Yeah.
And we were cozy. But the pilot was so great at, like, explaining the headsets and how to talk and Blake was not tall enough to push his button.
He kept pointing at it whenever he wanted to say something.
And I would push it for him. And she was very calming, and so it made me comfortable where once we came back via helicopter, I was not afraid at all.
Right.
So, and didn't have any trepidation.
The ride was amazing. You got amazing views, and just you in the front, I think, got even better views than I did. But it was very smooth, actually, too. There were a couple of bumpy moments, but for the most part, it was fairly smooth.
Yeah, those little air pockets.
Yeah. Whoa.
not a fan. But, okay, so then we get to the base, and these people live there.
Yeah.
So the workers and the dogs, but they sleep there in these tents that we actually got to see at the end, and they have a chef that is on, and everything is brought to them via helicopter.
Yeah. Everything. Every single thing in every piece of equipment, even the dogs, is all brought up by helicopter.
And then they're all brought back at the end of the season by helicopter. And they get to leave once a week to go take showers.
Yeah.
And have a day off.
Yeah.
Once a week. Showers once a week.
Think about that.
And the rest of the time they're living in snow.
They're living in snow.
I mean, the weather was really nice though. Like, they
gorgeous.
were without coats some of the time.
Yeah.
We even were able to take some layers off, and then once you were moving on the sled, it was a little bit cooler, but the sun was shining. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So once we got divided into the fours, the groups of four to go on the sled. The friend that met on the dock was like, "Oh, I'm going to be in their group if that's okay." And just because when you're comfortable with somebody and you're going on this experience, you want to continue to be comfortable. So that worked out well. So she was with us, and we all shared taking pictures of each other, and they of course sell you pictures. It was one for 30 or two for 50.
They had two
sleds
that were attached to each other. The front one was what the guy was driving, and then there was
and a little bit of a babier. A more calming experience,
yes, more stable, more wimpy experience, yeah.
Wimpy experience.
And there were seats so he was driving, standing up behind it, and there were two seats that you and Blake sat in, and then there was the back one that had one seat and then one spot for someone to drive, and so you were able to take turns being the one on the sled, sort of driving the back one. Quote unquote driving it, because you're not really doing anything.
Yeah, but you did the one time. You guys got blasted with snow on that one turn.
So we're on a turn, and he's like, "All right, brake now." And so she hit down on the brake, and I was sitting in the seat, and snow just went whoosh.
I mean, the snow was everywhere.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was very cool. I opted not to drive. I don't need to drive. I don't need to stand and drive and press a brake and do. I don't need to do that.
Blake started, and he did awesome.
Yeah, he did a great job. And they had him kind of on the little bit easier route for him to drive.
And when at the stopping points where you swapped around, they also gave you a few minutes to kind of, take pictures and just kind of do whatever you want. Christy built a snowman that she was very proud of.
my 8-inch or foot tall snowman that
Blake
kind of looked like something else. After we'll post that picture later.
Blake kept hitting me with snowballs. He was loving being in the snow.
Loving it.
Oh, and they did give you, before you started to sleigh, you got some time to play with the dogs a little bit. You met them, and you kind of got to play with them a little bit. So that was kind of fun for Blake, too.
Yeah. Oh, and when we were on the ground before we left, they gave us snow boots and a life jacket. So the life jacket you wear the whole time, because if you're flying over a body of water, it's required. There's also an FAA safety video. So we did all that.
Yep.
And had our snow boots that go over
your boots,
your shoes that you were wearing, or boots,
or whatever. It's like
you're wearing.
Hiking galoshes, if you will.
Yeah. So that was that experience. It was awesome, and it was kind of early in the morning, and then we were back by 11?
Yeah, by 11, and then and again, the helicopters, we were able to from our room watch them take off all day because it was literally right across the parking lot. So we got to kind of hang out and
we had good weather that day. There had been a lot of them that were canceled.
Yeah.
So, so then that occurred. And then today...
So we walked into Skagway after that. Yeah. We did do a little walk in downtown Skagway, but...
We bought Blake a book.
And couldn't find any internet that worked whatsoever.
Yeah, the internet, the cellular was just not working.
No, it kept giving me full bars, but no actual signal.
Yeah, it was like a whole day of it sort of not working. So... Then, we walked around Skyway. That was an easy walk. There was a lot of bars.
A lot of jewelry shops, a lot of gift shops.
Yeah.
So
very small.
Yeah.
And then today we are in Juneau. Mm-hmm. And we did a private whale watching excursion that I booked through Project Expedition. We wanted a small group experience, and literally there was a minimum of 4 people, and like probably was only a maximum of like 6.
Yeah, it was a minimum of 4.
We don't know what the
maximum, maybe 8
or 10, because it's not a very big boat. And there was only one captain. I would say the one commentary I would have about this one is that there wasn't really a lot of like whale instruction.
No.
Which we got the last time about the tail and just a whole bunch of other stuff. We did get this time.
Right. Like how to identify them based on the tail designs, what kind of
where
whale
they
it
migrate
is,
from.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also really liked that it was our family of 4 and just 2 other
one other couple, and that was it.
Yeah. So, there's like pros and cons, right? Like, we had a guy that was able to sort of take us where we kind of wanted to go and give like our feedback of what we were hoping for. There were a lot of the large tours, and I wouldn't want that either.
No. There were some
where it's like 100
crowded.
or 200 people, it looks like, and
you can see the boat visibly tilt as they were rushing from one side to the other to spot the whales. So, but it was really cool because you got out there and you start off you sort of on a joint bus with other groups, and they take you out, and he kind of gives you a little information about the Juneau area. We had to stop at a Best Western to pick up a couple that was sort of a separate. It was very strange that we stopped and picked them up at a hotel. It was about a 20 minute drive. Yeah,
maybe 25
to the harbor.
20 to 25.
Yeah. And then once we got there, then once our boat was still coming in, so there were boats coming in laying off the previous tours, and then they came up and said, okay, you're ready for us, and blah blah blah. So we went down, and he was able to they all kind of talk to each other on the radio to figure out where are the whales, and so he'll go. And I think the best one was the last one, because we sort of, I think it was you spotted it. Somebody spotted it, and it's like, oh, right out there at 11 o'clock, there's a spout. And
Wasn't it Blake?
Oh, it might have been Blake. It might have actually been Blake. And there was no other boat around at that point, so he took us over there, and we basically had our own little private viewing of this whale. It was beautiful.
And that was a tail whale, so it was basically a whale that was diving down deep every now and again, versus the other ones. Like the one was doing this feeding at the top, and that was super cool.
That was a mom and her baby, mama teaching her baby.
No, that was the second one.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get great pictures of the first guy feeding.
No.
But it was cool because you could see him putting his face up a little. That was pretty far away. And there was a couple of moments of what's that fin on the side called?
The dorsal fin.
Yeah. But what's the one on the top called?
Oh, that's the dorsal. So I forget what the side fin's called.
So whatever the side fin is called. Where we would see it, and they were doing the sort of flippy on the side type diving down, but not like a full-on breach that you would think of.
Right.
Don't mind my lack of whale knowledge or wording.
Yeah.
On the way back from the transfer vehicle to the ship, they stopped at Brotherhood
Bridge or something like that,
where you can see the Mendenhall Glacier.
Very foggy, so it was hard to see.
It was very foggy. I had this grandiose plan today that I really wanted to run to the Mendenhall Glacier after the event, and you could book it where you could do both, and I would do it that way. But for
if
this
it had
time,
been through Disney and all that.
Well, no, we could have done it privately, but this time we had my mom.
Right, and that would have been too much for her.
So if I was recommending this, I would tell someone to book the photo tour. It's like a photo whale watching. You'll know what it is. It has the word photo in it. And it's basically what we did last time. And then it's a Mendenhall Glacier hike. And so, but you have to be able to do a hike.
And all that,
So it's going to be a smaller group of a max of 24 people. And so that would have been a
And
good
we
amount of
thought
people.
about things like, because he had to drop that couple back off at the Best Western, so we thought, well, maybe we could take an Uber from there or from the harbor or marina and go there and then take an Uber from there to the ship. And then the captain of our boat informed us that it's a state park, and so they have a law that says
Or
that...
federal park, maybe.
Or, yeah, maybe
Some
a
sort of
federal park. Some sort of park where taxis, Ubers are not allowed to drop off. They have very tight restrictions over what can. So you basically would have to take a shuttle from someplace.
Yeah.
And
So-
there wouldn't have been enough time for that.
I mean, there may have been, but it turned out we were kind of hungry, and there wasn't a lot of time. So we didn't do it. Next time.
Next time.
And
In 5 years.
yeah. The next time we're here in 5 years. Every 5 years we have to come.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our excursions. We have to get cleaned up for dinner, which we sort of forgot about. And so I think that's going to be all for tonight. And we will reconvene either later. We have to talk about the shows still. The experience.
We have one more excursion left
shopping.
tomorrow in Ketchikan.
Yeah, so we'll talk more. But it has been an amazing cruise so far.
Yes.
We're absolutely loving it. And just ready to have more fun.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. Hello.
Hello.
So we're home.
Yes, it's been over a week.
Shh, don't tell them.
Sorry.
They didn't need to know that.
Time is a flat circle. No one knows what day it is.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been over a week. And since he gave away our secrets.
Sorry.
And we've just been busy
Very busy.
and tired.
As one would be after 12 days being gone on a vacation.
Yeah. Is that how long we were gone?
We were gone for 12 days, yep.
So we left off after our Juneau day. The next day we had Ketchikan. And Ketchikan, our ship got there a little bit later. Maybe 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe later. And then our excursion was meet at 11:30 or something like that. And we did a something by the sea.
Yeah.
Nature.
Nature by the Sea. I think it was Nature by the Sea. SEA.
And you guys get to hear all the nature by our house.
Yeah.
So we're sitting out by our pool, and there's all kinds of bird life.
Yeah.
And a little tiny bit of thunder.
Rain's been coming through, and that rain always wakes up all the nature.
So, no, those aren't birds.
Oh,
Frogs?
I think those are frogs. Yeah, I think those are frogs.
So you'll have to let us know if you can hear it. Okay. So we did the by the sea and Nature by the Sea or something like that. And it was really good.
It was.
So there wasn't a ton of people, maybe 40 or something like that, people on this boat.
At most.
Yeah. We counted at one point, but now I don't remember. Maybe 25, maybe 35. And then it was like a 3-floor boat.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like a split-level house, but in a boat.
Yeah.
So you could go almost straight. There was stairs no matter which route you took. And something to note about the docks in Alaska is that it really depends on how they're all floating docks. And so it depends on what the sea levels are. And the sea levels were really low, like I think they are in so many places. And so
the trains.
I think that one's the steamboat.
Oh, that could be the steamboat, yeah.
So you'll have to we'll have to play back to see if we can hear it. It's super fun. That might be the train going home for the night.
Although it's a little early.
But it's thundering, so maybe one of them.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows? Okay. Sorry, this is scintillating radio. The docks, the sea levels are low. The docks sort of float. We had a big, steep incline down and up to
Which we had both days, Juneau and Ketchikan. I think Ketchikan was more steep.
So, yes, Ketchikan was definitely more steep. And so just know that if you have mobility issues, those ramps would be difficult.
Yeah.
So the excursion brought us out to, it took us out of this bay, and then we had to take a bus.
Yep.
And then we got on the boat, and it took us out to this bay, and they gave all the children a nature, basically, scavenger hunt.
Yeah, bingo card.
Yes. Bingo scavenger hunt? Would you do it would you call it that?
Yeah. It was a bingo card, and the actual space in the middle of the free space was a Yeti or a bottomless snowman. It was like a free space. And it was other things like, bald eagle, and there were other, like, tour boats
the boat that we, like, our boat, and then the boat we would have passed, which we did, whales.
So they made it kind of easy for the kids to get the bingo.
Yes. And then at the end, they did give all children 10 and under a little small bald eagle stuffy.
Yep.
So it was very cute. And I knew my son would love that little stuffy, and I definitely think that's part of the reason we picked this tour.
It was.
We would have liked other animals. Of course, our pool filter stops going now that we're recording, but we would have liked to see other animals, but really all we saw were bald eagles, mostly.
Yeah, there was the head of the little baby seals.
Yes, we did see a seal.
Yeah, it was seals, but it was like just the head floating, the wet coconut, as he called it.
Yeah, we saw a couple of those.
Yes.
And then we saw a ton, though, of bald eagles. And there was this one rock area, and they were basically like, this is like a bald eagle convention. They said that it's very rare for there ever to be that many bald eagles on one stoop.
Yeah, it was very cool. And some of them were fighting over territory a little bit. One wanted the perch and that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of really cool action and activity happening that we could see.
And then they did a snack, and they did a gluten-free snack, which was really nice. And they did a kid's snack, which I think both Dave and I would have preferred the kid's snack. Yes.
Well, it's funny because even in Juneau, it was a case where the snack, the key snack that they offer, as it were.
Well, because
it makes sense. It's in Alaska, is a salmon-themed
spread.
So, which we just don't eat seafood. But, yeah, I think I had most of Blake's kid's snack.
Yeah.
He had Ritz crackers and cheese.
Which he ate some of that, too. And then there was some chocolate. And then there was this, like, salted chocolate. They had hot cocoa, and they had...
But you could also have, too.
I could. It was Swiss Miss. And I even asked about it, and they brought me, like, a photocopy of the ingredients. I mean, this
it was really well
company
done. Really well
was
done.
on the ball.
Yeah.
The captain seemed really good. They did have, like, a educational talk playing for one part, and they even silenced it at one part because we were going by a bald eagle nest or something like that, and so they didn't want to disturb the animals. Like, just really thought out, a really good organization. We were very pleased with the tour, and they were close to water. In theory, we could have seen other animals. We just didn't.
Well, and we had been told before, I think in Juneau, where it was a little early in the season because the salmon hadn't started spawning yet. And so once that happens, that's when all the bears and things will start to come down.
Right.
So I think you said Lake had seen bears.
And Liz, the advantage of recording so far after our trip is that Liz, one of our listeners and patrons, she was there with her family the week after we got off, and they saw a little bear eating some grass.
Nice.
Oh, jealous. And I feel like she saw him in Ketchikan.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. So that tour was great.
Yeah.
It was like 3 hours?
Yeah, about 3 hours. Four maybe with the bus ride.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good, though.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was only I don't know. But we stayed outside. It was maybe chilly, having the boat face some ways, but then quite warm, facing other ways. So that was fine.
It was beautiful weather.
We had really good weather our whole trip.
Weather.
So, and Ketchikan is like the rainiest city in the United States or something.
And so far, we're 2 for 2 for sunny, nice days.
We are. We are. We're lucky. Liz's family actually got rain in Ketchikan when they were there. But, like, their excursion that they did was a salmon hatchery and some other stuff. And part of it included, like, this barbecue. And it was so well covered. Like, they know it rained so much there. So they
cool.
figured out a way to be able to do this excursion for people and allow for the rain. Okay.
So then we got back. We took our boy.
I'm sure we got lunch.
Hopped him back on the ship. And then you and I went out for a walk.
Oh, yeah. So it wouldn't have been lunch.
No. Then we got that early.
Oh, we had early lunch.
Early lunch.
Because our excursion had like an 11:30 start time.
Yep.
So we ate at 11. I will say that after like the first day, we ate most of our meals in the concierge lounge.
Yeah.
They made sandwiches. They brought in sandwiches for me. And it was just easier. And we would run down to get my son pizza most of the days for lunch from
Daisy Delights
or whatever. It's not really
Pinocchio's is the pizza place, yeah.
And then I got French fries from Pete's Broiler, blah blah blah.
Yep. Broiler Bites, something like that.
I love listening to the horns. I hope some of those horns come through for you guys. And then. So we did eat a lot of our lunch there, but when we got back to the ship from Ketchikan, we put Blake in the kids club, and then, he requested to go there.
Yeah.
And then we went and walked around for a tiny bit. We didn't make it as far as Creek Street. We were just sort of tired. Mm-hmm. And it was getting a little bit later. And then, but we did buy like a couple of souvenirs. You know, if you have kids and you need like the next size up spring coat, you can get a really nice spring coat for like $20. So we bought his next like rain, water resistant or type whatever coat there for cheap. They have adult coats for cheap. It's almost a shame that it's at the end of your cruise because you wouldn't wait until you got to Ketchikan to have
the foul weather gear.
Well, right, your raincoat, because especially with Disney, you've already done your whole cruise. And I feel like almost everybody does that port just before they're...
That's what we did with Princess. I think it was our last port there, too.
So, but they have some really good stuff like that. They have like a bunch of ornaments that you can buy, a bunch of little shops. They have more bars and restaurants again. So there's just a lot you can go to and see. There also, I noted, and I meant to stop in it, and then we sort of forgot because we ended up on a different part of the street. There is a pharmacy, like, right in that downtown area. And I know my in-laws, when we were there 5 years ago, needed something from Walmart, and they, like, took a bus to Walmart. And not a bus, but like a van that they apparently pick up people from the port and take them to Walmart. So that is that is an option if you needed. Which I remember, like, my brother-in-law needed something like pants or something, and we're like, this cruise is nearly over. How have you got? Did you have no pants for this many days?
Pants?
How have you not needed pants till now? So anyway, that's my funny memory. But there is a pharmacy like right in town, and if you were somebody who wanted to bring back bottles of wine with you, you could probably buy them. And as a reminder, you can bring on 2 bottles of wine into every port on a Disney cruise, which is different than almost every other cruise line. Allows you to bring 2 bottles of wine per cabin if there's 2 adults in the cabin. At the beginning of the cruise, Disney's like, you can bring them on in every port if you want. And then there's beer allowed, and they actually allow like a White Claw or a seltzer alcohol as well, and like instead of beer. You can bring on like a cider or something too, but you have to follow the restrictions of the cans, and it can't have like added alcohol in it. So like the seltzer alcohol has whatever vodka or whatever alcohol's in it, but it can't be like and additional blah 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 added to it. So just like watch your bottle.
Extra holiday cheer.
Yeah, extra holiday cheer. So yes. And, you know, I had a listener reach out to us on Instagram, and she's like, I have all these questions, and most of the people that cruise, and they come on the podcast, they're frequent cruisers, or when you guys are explaining it, you explain everything like we all know everything. So I am going to really try going forward to educate when it seems to make sense. But if there's something, like during the podcast, but if there's something you want more information on or you want us to explain, please just reach out. The easiest way to do that right now would be to email me at christy@packyourpixiedust.com, because I am trying to do more of the scheduling of podcasts and taking over those, like, let's come up with the topics. So, and then we do have some first-time cruisers, I believe, coming on, like, that we're setting up for the next couple of months. I think we said that like 2 months ago, and we've all just been so busy. But we are going to get those set up as well so that you can get a first-time cruiser's perspective.
We could do a whole thing on checking in, because that's always my job.
Yeah, you will do a mini-sode and you can explain that. Do you know, so since the restart and the check-in rules have changed, we've been on I've been on one more than them, but like 13 cruises or 12 cruises or whatever. And I have never once done the online check-in because even the cruise that I went on that you didn't, you still checked me in.
Yeah.
So I have never uploaded those documents.
You're like, that's your job. It's on the computer. You have the documents. Just do it.
You can just please do that and he can stay up till midnight better than I can.
Yes.
So if it's a midnight situation.
And I have a whole process down, so it's actually pretty easy to do.
Yeah, so we'll do a mini-sode on that one day. All right, so dining overall, we talked about all the ports. They were fabulous. This cruise was fabulous. We absolutely loved it. Dining overall, I felt like was a big improvement for both my special diets for gluten-free eating and just in general.
Just quality of the food in general, I felt was better.
Yeah, the restaurant was jammed. These restaurants were jammed. Like, there was one table where one of the waitresses had to, like, rub her butt on top of our table to get by because the space was so narrow. I mean, come on, Disney. Like, I understand people want separate tables. And if everybody's wondering, the separate tables for the people is why these tables have to be so spread out, because they used to have multiple 10 tops or 8 tops where they would put 2 families together, and like sometimes even 6, but like they put these multiple families together, and now they're not doing that as much. And so as a result of that, they have to separate the tables that they maybe didn't have to separate before.
Yeah.
So I think that's where some of the problems are coming from. But some of those tables are tight.
Well, and even separating them on the first night, we had Triton's the first night, and we got there, and literally it was maybe 1 inch between our table and the table next to ours.
I think it was more than that, but it
close.
was pretty close.
So we then separated it out into being a little further between the two.
But we felt like the food was really good. Our service, well, I should say, our main server and our head waiter. So with Disney, the frogs are serenading us. So with Disney, you have a head server, and they're like a manager to the servers, and they have maybe 30 tables or 40 tables, like a ridiculous number of tables. And the fact that they can remember people's names is amazing. And the cabin numbers. And then we should find out how many tables they really have one day, like per dinner service. And then you have your server. And your server is the one who's going to take your order and do all those things. And then you have your assistant waiter, and they are getting your drinks mostly and your bread.
Drinks, yep.
They also run to get the food on behalf of the server. They are the assistant. They assist him or her in whatever way they need. Ooh, our assistant server was
very nice young man.
Very nice young man. So we didn't rate him poorly, but he was not good. Like, my mom would ask for tea, and like most of the nights, the tea just never came. Yeah. It just never came. And she dropped her napkin and asked for a napkin. And he wasn't like going to another table. Like, he was coming to our table to fill up our water or something. So it wasn't like we distracted him. So she's like, "Oh, I dropped a napkin. Can we please have one?" That napkin never arrived.
No. Blake ended up going and stealing one from another table.
Yeah. So just like stuff like that. But super nice guy.
Very nice.
And I think we gently tell the server, not the head waiter, because we really didn't want him to get in trouble.
Right.
Because he was so nice. And
And a lot of it
seemed
could
like he
just be a
didn't
training
mean-
issue, you know.
But we were just like, so we told our waiter so that he could maybe guide him a little.
Yeah.
Because also it is bad. It could reflect bad on the waiter if they're rated poorly because, well, it would reflect badly because of their assistant waiter. And our waiter was like on it.
He was very deadpan. He had a very deadpan kind of approach and delivery. But
He was like
he was on
Eastern
it
Bloc, kind of like
from Romania, and he was very clear that your Ukrainian, they were not cousins. No, we are not cousins.
They are though. If you ask me,
we are Romania. Yeah.
They're all
cousins
like
over there in that
Eastern Bloc, whatever.
But he was very fun. He was just kind of. And he was on the ball with your allergy and making
and
sure.
Blake's food.
And Blake's food.
So Blake, his food came out so quick. And so my son loves to eat bowls of cucumbers and tomatoes as like his salad,
It's his
right?
salad, yeah.
He made him the biggest bowls of cucumbers and the biggest...
They kept growing.
Yeah, they did.
At the very end,
But
it was a bowl of cucumber and a bowl of tomato rather than one bowl.
But Blake kept eating them.
Yeah.
And so
then Blake wanted to have just pizza every night, so he brought him a whole pizza to have, and it was
because I think that was the easier way to
Yeah.
order it. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
couldn't figure out how to order it any other way. So, and we would have had Blake order other food, but I don't know. So the first night he ordered like the pasta off the menu or something, and then
he eats so well at home normally that it's like, you're on vacation. If he wants mac and cheese or pizza each night, sure, let him do that.
just eat, and he always eats. So, and like Dave said, he eats good at home. So let him just eat on the cruise. Doesn't matter. He eats his giant bowl of cucumbers and tomatoes. We call it a day.
And we should say thank you to Liz for recommending.
Yes.
Because Dan was a Liz recommendation.
Yes. So, and she has, she had him previously and then had him actually last week as well. And so, and he did a great job for her and her family. So, dining was good. We did utilize the concierge lounge for a lot of dining.
Mm-hmm. We also had Paulo on
just convenient.
We had Paulo on it's not the pirate night because we're in Alaska.
Right, the frozen.
But it's it's their version of Paulo or a pirate night.
Which was frozen.
Yeah.
And we actually were able to change that reservation. Because we had Paulo on another night, but then we looked at the menu and we wanted the food that was on the night. We originally made the Paulo reservation, so we were able to move it really on the fly. And Paulo wasn't overly... We also eat kind of early.
Yeah.
But it wasn't overly crowded. Mm-mm. So if there's like another... And it was dinner, not brunch. Brunch obviously has less options. But if you are looking for a reservation, definitely go up there and ask and see. I think they'd be able to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else? Entertainment. Our son went to the kids club a ton. So he really enjoyed it. He enjoyed having his birthday on board.
Yep.
That was
cute. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. We had all the decorations that you had ordered for him.
Yeah, we ordered those room decorations.
And he loved having them.
Those were super cute. Our room steward, I think we talked about this already.
Oh, yeah, cake, the pretend cake.
Yeah, she made a towel cake for him. I mean, that was amazing.
That was amazing.
And then, God, so we watched those shows. We already sort of talked about
on the TV,
the Golden Mickeys. We also Blake watched some of the Dreams show, like the last night on the TV. And I don't know what I was doing. And then...
You were packing, or no,
we were done
packed.
packing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was doing something.
I don't know.
So, and then Frozen, we watched on the TV. I feel like the recorded Frozen, not their best work. But still enjoyed it nonetheless. Yeah. And also enjoyed not leaving my cabin. I do love me just some cozies and
popcorn
snuggling
in the cabin,
and popcorn.
Yeah. For those of you who do wonder, on the last sea day, I was dropping Blake off in the kids club, and I wandered out, and there was this massive crowd on the balconies and all that in the atrium, and there's screaming and shouting. I walked over, I said, "What am I missing?" And it was the diaper dash.
Yeah.
So they do still do the diaper dash
yes.
for the babies, and it was bigger than I remember when he was a baby. Now, you said it was still as crowded.
No, it was really crowded and all the screaming.
Yeah, so they do the diaper dash. It was on the last C night, so...
So, was it at night? It wasn't during the day?
No, it was during the day. It was in the afternoon, though.
Oh, and it was that crowded?
It was.
Well, because it was a C day.
Yeah. It was like... Because I was on floor 5, because that's how I was dropping them off in the kids club. And that balcony was like 3 people deep on that balcony, and it looked like 4 was also the same, and the atrium was crowded. So it was a thing to see.
That's hilarious.
And apparently the lead baby was going great, and they have these little like remote controls that the parents will drag along the floor to get the baby to move toward it. And the baby was going and going, and then the mom moved the remote one more time, and the baby just stopped and started crying.
That sounds accurate.
Which is sort of what we experienced as well.
I think that's what... And all that screaming. How can they not be crying?
Oh, exactly.
Whatever during that. Getting off the next day, it was late. And it was late for Liz the next week that they cleared the ship and allowed... And once they had any bags off. So I feel like that was later... Like, we were in the first group to have our bag tags called, and it was like at 8:30. Well, no, because must have been 8:20.
Yeah, it was.
Because we made it all the way
to the
into Canada Place.
Oh, yeah.
And to meet our friends for breakfast at 8:30.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
I'm so glad we did that. It was fun to see them and just get you guys some breakfast.
Yes. So that last day, so I guess nothing else about the cruise that I can think of.
Well, the other thing I guess would be to point out that for those coming in, that hotel is an option because it's literally walking to the cruise, that Pan Pacific Hotel.
Not even walking to the cruise, walking in the same building.
Yes, as the cruise port.
As the cruise. So that's the Pan Pacific. As a reminder, that hotel, you're either doing suites, a king-size bed, or they are double beds, which is just...
A little tight.
I'm not sharing a double bed with you.
No, I'm glad we did what we did, which was at the airport.
Right.
But I think for convenience, if you wanted to.
And there's a Fairmont at the port, and I'm almost certain that the Fairmont near Canada Place, it's like across the street, is also double beds. It's cities, right? But, oh my God, that's too small. So... Yes, but very convenient. And I think there's a fee, but they'll take your luggage to the ship if you are staying at that hotel and ask them to. We had breakfast, and it was great. It was very delicious. And they could handle my gluten-free needs. And so that was great. And then we had a tour booked. So I use Project Expedition. If anybody ever wants a link, I'm happy to share one with you guys so that you can look and browse and book. They basically subcontract or contract out with tour companies that they vet. And they hold the money in escrow until you've done the tour. And they have these cruise policies where, like, if your ship doesn't make it to a port or it's late, and then something happens to your tour, like, they will honor it. You could also just buy insurance. And there's also very loose cancellation policies. Like, most of them you can cancel a few days before. In fact, in Europe last year, there was some tour we originally booked because I think we thought we could cancel whatever we booked on the ship. And then we realized you can't cancel what you booked on the ship. And just a reminder for everybody that 3 days before your cruise, your stuff becomes non-refundable. So while you're at home or wherever you are 3 days before, you have to firm up before that which excursions you want, because the Disney Cruise Line is saying those things are non-refundable anymore. And then also, like, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique and stuff like that, I believe is 24 hours before. And the only other changes to those rules are, and I think, like, the wine tastings and stuff is 24 hours before. But things like the Royal Tea, whatever that's called, and then Olaf's Picnic, if you're on the Wish, all of that stuff goes to the 3 days before as well. So, to that end, if there's something that you wanted to book and you hadn't been able to book because people are canceling things 3 days before, you can watch in the app to see if something pops up or is available. So all of this to say, we booked a private tour, basically. So Disney offers a tour where you can, if you have a flight that leaves after 4:30 or 4 o'clock or something like that, you can get on a bus in the morning and they'll take you to Stanley Park and they will take you to the
Capilano?
Now that it's been 2 weeks, we forgot the name of this
Capilani
bridge.
Or Capilano.
Capillan.
Something like that.
Oh my God, I cannot
Swinging
believe
bridge.
we can't remember this.
I don't have my phone to
Because we knew it.
Yeah.
And we went on it. So anyway, they'll take you there and they'll take you someplace else. And I think is there a version that includes lunch? No, I don't know. I don't remember if it includes lunch or not, but it is an option. You cannot sign up for that excursion until you are on board, which is wild to me. So I guess you go, once you've boarded, to the shore excursion desk and you can sign up for that excursion. And it's a little bit pricey, but it gives you a whole tour. You can do all the things. So for nearly the same price, it was a little bit more. I booked an SUV because we had way too much luggage to put in a car to drive us around the Vancouver and get us to the airport at the end. We had such a lovely time.
Yeah.
And another Romanian.
Yeah.
So our driver was also Romanian. He was great. He was a fabulous tour guide.
Yes.
Like, he knew all the things. And so he took us to the Sea Bridge,
Capilano.
Oh my God, you guys.
Kappa something swinging bridge.
We got like a certificate and everything.
For those of you who've been to Animal Kingdom, it's just like the swinging bridge in Animal Kingdom. Exactly like it.
Just like it. That swinging bridge is wild.
It is very wild.
And it's very swingy.
Very swingy.
It's also very expensive.
It's also a lot of steps.
Yeah,
both
a
walking,
lot.
but also a lot of stairs. So
right, more stairs
there's
than
a lot
step
of really cool
walking.
like things to see, but there was a lot that we looked at. We're like, that's a lot of stairs. I don't think so.
And we wanted lunch. So what
Yeah.
we did is he drove us first through Stanley Park. And he brought us, he let us out in the little totem part of Stanley Park, and he explained it all. He drove us around. Oh, he drove us, different views to see the different parts of the city and that area.
And of Stanley Park.
And of Stanley Park.
Yeah.
So, did we get out of the car twice in Stanley Park? I feel like we got out of the car twice. Maybe only once?
I think only once.
Twice?
I think once. Because Blake wanted to run in that little field, then we came over to where you were, where there was the totems. So I think it was only once.
But I feel like there was one more time where we took pictures. There was by a road of the ship. I don't remember. So we did the Stanley Park thing. And then we went and got to take the big cool bridge that we go under the Lions
Yep.
Bridge. Lion's Den, Lion's Mouth,
Lion something bridge.
Lion something bridge. And we got to hear the story about how the bridge was created. And just, and Blake was listening and looking out the windows the whole day. He didn't ask for his cell phone one time.
Nope.
Which I am shocked by.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end. And then we went to the Capilano.
I think Capilano. It sounds right.
Right? We're going to call it Capilano from now on. So, suspension bridge. Our tour didn't include tickets because it was just a car that drove us wherever it was going to drive us. So we had to buy tickets. As a travel advisor, I actually could show my credentials and I didn't have to pay, which was great. Blake was a kid, so he didn't have to pay. Or he had to pay, but it was way less.
Price, yeah.
He still paid, though. That bridge is pricey, though.
Yeah.
I want to say it was 69 Canadian dollars.
He and I
adult.
combined were 78 Canadian dollars.
There you go, 78 Canadian dollars. So, just something to keep in mind. Do I think it was worth 78 Canadian dollars? I don't know.
It could have been if we had done all the things there.
Yeah.
It definitely could have been. But we just wanted to come in, walk across the suspension bridge, take a quick look. We actually got to see they had these two ladies that had One had a hawk, and one had a
littler
bird, and Blake just had a ball talking. It was very cool because in Alaska and Canada, everybody knew wildcrats.
Yeah, that is
Blake
which
loves talking about wildcrats.
The show on PBS Kids that is all about animals.
Yeah, and Blake absolutely loves it. And so he was just talking to these ladies about the birds and all that. So there's definitely enough you could do to get out of it, but for what we did, probably not.
And I want to say adults were maybe 12 or 13. It was you could become an adult like at 13. And so if you were paying a family of 4, $69 or whatever, an adult.
Yeah, you have kids over 12.
That adds up.
And they had food there. I didn't really look at the prices.
It smelled good.
But it smelled really good.
But we didn't know if I could eat there, and that didn't feel like the right place to try to eat. Okay, so Blake Grant came out, and so I don't know exactly what word we were just on. But the wildlife out here is all kinds of things happening tonight back in our backyard. So Capilano, whatever bridge. So you could make it a day of fun. The food smelled really good. I would probably plan to eat out there if you could eat normal food.
Yep.
And it was like burgers and stuff, but I feel like there was more than that. And they had like a sit-down restaurant plus like a quick service-y type restaurant. So anyway, it smelled delicious though.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we got in our car and we went back over the Line Bridge, and then we went to Blue Iguana, a different thing that everybody...
It's like a farmer's market.
Who goes there knows about.
Like farmer's market to the max. It had this big pavilion with food eateries that are all like locally sourced kind of things. They had some vegan places. They had some Asian food. Some of it's weird. They had this pizza place where my pepperoni was perfectly normal.
Something was weird about that pizza place.
And the cheese pizza that we got,
it wasn't a cheese pizza. You didn't ask. You ordered something weird.
I know. And it was weird. But the pepperoni one I had was perfectly normal and perfectly fine. So I was kind of hit or miss. And then his grilled cheese was good, I think. But I think his belly was just being weird, which is why he didn't finish it.
Yeah, but also we should have made him eat because...
Yeah. And you weren't really able to find anything, unfortunately. You had a smoothie, and you...
Oh, yeah, and then we got him his...
And we got him his grilled cheese.
So did I not get... I didn't have lunch.
I don't think you had lunch, because you kept looking around, and it was just like everything... Nothing really worked. It was just... You just didn't feel comfortable.
I had coffee.
You had coffee, and you had...
I did have that smoothie.
And the smoothie. And you said, I think you ended up having a granola bar and saying, we'll just look when we get to the lounge or we'll get to the airport. We'll see what we can find.
But there wasn't anything at the airport.
There wasn't anything. So I think you just kind of didn't do anything.
We had popcorn.
Yeah.
So we did bring popcorn off the ship. I brought quart-size Ziploc bags, and we brought those to the... we brought them off the ship.
Yeah.
I want to figure out what that market is called. Also, Capilano Bridge.
Yeah,
so I think we were calling it. I found that picture. Okay, here we go. Oh, Granville Island.
Oh,
was Blue Parrot was the coffee shop that we went to, and the market that everybody knows about is the Granville Island Public Market. And there really were a lot of things there. There were gluten-free things in the area. Like there was a Mexican restaurant that was like right in that area that had gluten-free options and possibly other stuff, but we had to go catch our flight.
Yeah, we had limited time.
And so then on our way back to the airport, our driver brought us through like the U.S. Embassy or consulate.
Yeah, where the consulate's home was. It wasn't the consulate. It was where the consulate lived.
Yeah. So we got to see that. And then all these other really fancy, like $20 million houses or something like that. And then he showed us just like regular $1 million houses. And
like you do.
And just other, like, nice neighborhoods. And we saw a Subway again. I think we saw 2 Subways on our
Yep.
way to the
I
airport.
think you took a picture of both of them.
So it was a really good tour.
It was. And we got back to the airport, and, we dealt with the fun WestJet, which was just a barrel of fun.
So WestJet is a partner of Delta, and to go to Canada from where we were, it ended up being the best option. And you really cannot have overweight luggage with WestJet, even if you have status with Delta. So keep that in mind.
Yep.
The seats were like, I could get my seats, but then they said Dave had to pay, but then eventually, Dave went and got a Delta rep while he was just like, does this seem right? Because we booked it through you, but we're not getting our luggage and our seat. And then she just went over and she's like, can't you just make it work there,
She's like, I'll come talk to him. So she wandered down with me to the WestJet gate.
So, but either way, the WestJet people eventually found out that it should work. Because I was like, look here in the app, it says platinum benefits include overweight luggage or all your baggage privileges, which allows me to have too heavy of luggage.
Yep.
Okay, so that was the end of our trip. We were exhausted. We had a red eye that was a little bit delayed. We didn't get home until 7:30 the next morning.
It was...
Don't recommend.
Do not recommend. It was very little sleep. We were all exhausted.
But then we were home. And we could just be slightly exhausted that day.
And we muscled through.
And we went to bed, all of us at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I think it
by
was
9:30, everyone in the house was asleep, I think.
Including Dave.
Including me. And I usually stay up late. So.
He only... And the times change. We should have been in the opposite direction. Which is funny because then the next day, we slept a million hours. And, everybody slept so many hours. We were all so tired. But then the next day, we kind of went to bed a little bit more of a later time. And we did have some jet lag a little we could not wake up in the morning because of the time change because we had adjusted. So, and how we adjusted was by going to Disneyland.
Which was amazing. And
I don't think we talked about this yet. Well, we did. We did
a little bit.
Because I was re-listening today to
we did do
our
a
snippet.
little mini snippet on that last night in our hotel, I think.
Yeah. No, we didn't do any snippets until day 4 of the trip.
Oh.
So, but we did talk about how we went from rope drop to close the first night, and then we did the World of Color dessert party. Did we talk about that? I'm almost certain we talked about that.
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about that again. And then the next night, I could not force myself to watch the fireworks.
No,
none of us.
You went back and forth so much.
I really wanted to go because Nova and her family had this front row seat that they had. I
think she even taunted you with pictures.
Out. Yeah, she was understanding though. But before they picked up the luggage, I had fallen asleep. Mm-hmm. So. Because they had stored their luggage in our room for that day. So it was just such a great trip.
It was.
We all had such a blast. And so I'm really glad we did it. If you are coming from the East Coast and you are going on an Alaskan cruise, I do recommend, if you have kids, and especially if you have kids that follow a particular sleep pattern, that you try to get out there early. 5 years ago, we went to Seattle for a few days before our cruise. And that really helped us to get at least to Seattle's time, Vancouver's time, Pacific time, basically, because you actually go a whole nother hour once you're into Alaska, so further back. So if you need to adjust your time, you want to give yourself a little bit of time to do that. And if you're me, even as a grown-up, my body clock is this is the time we wake up and go to sleep every day. And so, I would get up, traditionally, if I wasn't so tired, so early in California. So it was good to get out there early to really run ourselves to the ground.
Plus, it was just so much
fun. It was so much fun to get on that time.
Yeah. And I do think also, even if you're not doing the LA part, the Disneyland part, if you are someone who comes from the East Coast, or if you're used to Caribbean cruises, it's a very different experience. You will be prepared not for like, oh, we'll get off in this port, but maybe stay on the ship for this port. It's more like a European cruise where you're basically planning on getting off every single port, and it can be exhausting because you're go, 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 go. So it's going to be a different style cruise than what you're used to.
And some people like just go to a restaurant and do walking around and stuff like that, or go and do excursions on their own, and so you can definitely do that in the ports. So it's not that you have to do a structured shore excursion. It's just that so many of these places are once or twice in a lifetime, right? So when you make the journey, you want to experience as much as possible.
It's also, I feel like, because in the Caribbean, you've got the hot, sunny weather, and a lot of those excursions are oriented around
the beach.
And
or
like
a town tour.
Exactly. And here, the weather's not like... And even when you're done, you get back on the ship, people just kind of lay out at the pool and all that. Most cases, you're not doing that on the Alaskan cruise. I mean, there were people that were doing that.
And there was one warm-ish day where people... The first day, people were in the pool.
Yeah.
Because it was warm that day. And then people
were still in the pool even on cold days, which
people
was crazy.
were in the pool and the hot tub, but not even just the pool, or just the hot tub, but also the pool.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was like 58 degrees and like blowing wind, and there were people in the pool.
Yeah. So they do keep a pool open always, and for the most part. But it was great.
Yeah. It was very fun. I was so glad we did it.
Anything you would do differently?
That whole just figuring out a different way to come back that isn't an overnight flight. I think that'd be the only thing.
Or with WestJet.
Definitely rethink the WestJet. It was very troubled.
I think I would pack less. I probably say that often. We had a ton of T-shirts and stuff left. I don't even understand because I feel like I counted out how many of those types of things we did, and somehow we'd have all of us, of T-shirts that we never wore. But I will say that I got busy, as I do when I was packing, and I gave up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, shove, shove, shove.
This has got to be enough T-shirts.
I want to make sure you have more. So here, let me pack up a couple more T-shirts. So I would definitely pack less.
But it is hard, though, because especially the time of year that we went, I mean, we had one day that was
everything.
65 and one could have been 45 and raining. So you just don't know. And you have to pack for almost summer and, early spring.
Right. I didn't wear any of my shorts.
No,
I did wear a dress or a skirt a couple of times, but...
I wore shorts on the ship a couple times, but that was about it.
Yeah. So we didn't have to bring as many of those types of clothes. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I would have done differently, really.
No.
I already talked about on that Explorer trip, I would have done different, like with the picture taken, I wouldn't have waited to take pictures, but
yeah,
I think that's it. So this has been a long snippets, might not be the right
podcast level of snippet.
Yeah, this was 40 minutes itself, 43 minutes, and you have all the previous times. So thank you all for listening. Reach out if you have questions. Obviously, if you're not working with a travel agent, travel advisor, I would love to help you plan your next vacation.
Especially Alaska, because there was a lot to know. And I think engaging your services would be just crucial for doing all this stuff.
Oh, thanks, honey.
Yeah.
But if you're working with somebody, definitely keep working with them. We always say we support who you've previously worked with. And I hope that you've enjoyed our snippets. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show. Steve is out exploring Europe on the beautiful Disney Dream, so we're going to let him enjoy his trip, and I'll close this one out. Thank you to all of our wonderful Patreon members who make this show happen each and every week. You can join our community by going to patreon.com/DCL podcast. Until then, have a great summer and happy sailing.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.